Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Woman to Woman show on the You New Nation Network. We are delighted to be here tonight. Once again, another Monday night. We are here. We're in the house. How you doing today, my sisters?
Great. Good
Well,
to be
doing well.
here. Good to see you all. Good to see everybody that's joining us, even though we can't actually see you. We're glad you're here.
But light up those comments so we know you there. All right.
That's right.
All right, so we are going to start off by just introducing ourselves as we normally do and saying what we are grateful for. And so I am Theodora Carter. I am the owner, founder, CEO of T. Carter Coaching and Consulting. I am passionate about helping women live the life that they desire to live, to overcome obstacles and challenges, to transform and create the life that they want to live. And I also offer services for small businesses that need fractional HR support. And I am grateful for another Monday, but most importantly, I am grateful that next Sunday I will turn 58.
Yes!
So I am excited that God has blessed me with this time on earth. So God willing, next Sunday, I'll start my next chapter. And so, and I'm grateful for you young ladies being here tonight. And I'm going to toss it to Regina.
Thank you. I am Regina Booker, the owner of Season and Fabulous. We're helping women 50 plus not get stuck, discover their dreams or want their dreams or whatever they want to do, because it's never too late. That's our motto. It's never too late to start what your dreams, your ambitions, your goals, whatever. And I'm excited about Saturday. This coming Saturday is first retreat for Season and Fabulous. So yay! That is what I'm grateful for. I think my sisters were encouraging me to step out on faith, and hey, it's here.
Nice.
Um,
All right. Who's
Okay,
next?
I guess it's the. I'm sorry, Netta.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Manetta Fields. I am the owner of Holistically Motivated LLC. I have over 32 years as a credentialed healthcare professional, and I've taken that experience and merged it, married it with the holistic approach to wellness. So we can give you solutions, tips, and strategies on how to live your best life using what God made. And
Yeah.
I am grateful that I have the opportunity to serve in that way.
Nice.
Amen.
And last
I'm
but
gonna
not
toss it
least,
to Sheila.
Hey, I am Sheila Isom, and I am an insurance claims professional. I am also an independent stylist for Color Street Nail Polish Strips. So let me show you my nails.
Oh, come in a little closer. Let me
let
see
me
the
see those nails again.
move to the
You
camera.
see?
There we
Oh,
go.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a little glitz and glamour going.
Yes, I am glittering. Glittering. I love
nice.
my glitters. And I am also a notary public. So I am grateful for another Monday to hang with my sisters, to talk our talk, and to see the comments and have some people interact with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about the topic tonight. So, again, welcome to the Woman to Woman show on the new U Nation Network. We are so excited tonight. We are going to talk like this is a topic I think that we are all so excited and just really trying to do better at, right? Which is mind, body, and soul, right? So we're like, let's talk about health and wellness and the importance of it at any age, But when you reach this Gen X, right, it is so important that we are mindful of, our mental, our spiritual, our physical, wellness. And so tonight we're going to just kick it off and have a nice conversation around some of the things you can do. And we're going to let Netta, because she is the pro.
Yes,
Right?
she's our go-to.
Right, she's our go-to. Hey, Kathleen, thank you for joining us tonight. So let's talk about Netta. Let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it. There's so much to talk about. That's a broad topic, right? Health and wellness. I'm going to start the conversation with each of us sharing, what does wellness mean to you personally? I would love to hear your perspective on what wellness means to you.
I mean, I think for me, it definitely is that whole for me, most importantly, is that mental wellness, right? That place of contentment and peace, right? But then also for me is the physical side of it, right? Just being able to move without much pain, so I'm, you guys know I'm really active when it comes to exercise, and so keeping my body moving. But I think more so now, I'm also trying to get better at what I put on my body, right? So I've transitioned to natural deodorant, which was a real big thing for me. Like, I'm like, oh my God, right? And just, really transitioning to like natural toothpaste and just making, some little changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
To move me to a space where I'm really trying to take better care of not only what I put in my body, but what I put on my body.
That's huge. Y'all know that's what I talk about all the time. So, okay, who's next? I want to hear this. What does wellness mean to you?
Well, to me, it is an amalgamation of the physical, the mental, as well as the emotional. They all have to be in sync with each other. Because in order for you to be the best you, the healthiest you have to take into consideration all of those aspects. Oftentimes we tend to focus mainly on the physical, because as we know, everybody can always be like one carb away from gaining weight. But that mental piece is so important, because it's that mental piece that can keep you from either improving your physical health or even denying that there's a need to improve on your physical health. And same thing with the emotional. Your emotions have to be kind of stable too, in order for you to be able to grow mentally and to grow physically.
Yes. Yeah. Love that. Thank you for sharing. Regina.
Mind, body, and soul for me. My mind has to be well. So sometimes I think these thoughts out. So the meditation and journaling, and of course the physical and my spiritual, which is my soul. So that's all together. That's what wellness means to me, to be like centered or grounded in those things, so I can have every day just peaceful and joy in my life.
Yes,
that is my goal.
Peace is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
Yeah. And I think what Sheila said about the emotional piece is huge, because if you're not aware of like your emotional intelligence, like that really impacts the choices you make when it comes to eating and how you respond to stuff, right? Like it just really impacts your health in so many ways.
Absolutely. I love that each of your perspectives, although there are similarities that run through each of them, just as unique as we are as individuals, what we perceive health to be is unique as well. And I agree, I am a holistic health educator. That means all encompassing. You know, we're not leaving anything out. Everything needs to be tapped into, assessed, to be aware where we are and where we want to be in terms of our health and wellness goals. So that's really good. As I was contemplating a topic, I started to reflect back on who it was in my life that I saw living a healthy life in each of those areas as far as I could tell. You know, nobody knows the real deal but you. But from the outside looking in, I was thinking of who gave me an example of wellness. And so that's the next question to you. Who gave you an example of wellness that helped shape what you thought wellness to be?
I will say, so I have an aunt that's 96, right? She just turned 96 in March.
Got longevity.
Right. I have another aunt who's 99 and it'll be 100 in November, right?
Okay.
And I would say probably the two of them, right? One, watching how they, like, both very active, right? Like my 96-year-old aunt still bowls in a league, right? But also watching how they ate. Right, you know, and it wasn't like us. It's not like they eat like how we got to eat everything clean, but just like their portion sizes, right, and not overeating, but like really being active. But most of all, looking at just how they like just. I'm not gonna say nothing bothers them, but how they navigate, right, life, like, you know, always kind of like just peaceful, calm, you know. Not really stressing out about stuff. Like, you know, they truly are the matriarchs of the family that help us keep things in perspective, right? So I would say they probably are my role models as it relates to, you know, just someone in my family. And then, you know, I'm sure there's, you know, just different people I know, like from being in the fitness world, right? But I would say just from that everyday family member, I would say definitely those two individuals. Really, when I look at them, I'm like, okay, there's a possibility that I'm gonna make it to this age. I need to, you know, look at what they're doing, right? And I would say the one thing they both are very active, right? So the 99-year-old is slowing down a little, but still have her faculties. You know, she still can do stuff on her own. The 96-year-old still drives. So I would say those two people.
Nice.
Well, I would have to say, you know, I look back into like going back to my younger days. I mean, we were extremely active. I'm sure most of us were. You walked everywhere. You know, you made sure that you got involved in extracurricular activities, whether it's in, you know, in elementary school, high school, junior high school, and even in college. You know, you did something and you were always constantly moving. And then once you got into the working world, it was like, oh, okay, I have a sedentary job now. But, you know, I can still make friends. So that was helpful. And I think for me, it was really just peers, right? People that I had been around, because even though you're in the working world and you're an adult, you're still going through a period of discovery. So the things that you kind of took for granted when you were younger, right? Especially as the pounds start coming on because, you know, you got a little money, so you're eating more. Although you probably weren't eating that healthy to begin with when you know, when you were younger, because I had plenty of lunches that consisted of just potato chips or ring dings. Pizza. But, you know, you actually, as your body starts changing and so does your mind and your surroundings, you become more aware of some of the right things that you need to do. And it can often start with just being in the company of other people who also take on that awareness, and you come together and you start realizing, okay, we can do some things as a group. Or that one individual who now introduces you to meditation, who now introduces you to having regular massage therapy and things like that. And that person that says, come on, let's go out and walk at lunchtime.
And that's so true because I remember I was probably in my late 20s and I started I just finished college, right? Undergrad, started my first job, right? At Girl Scouts of the USA, right? Woo-woo. And I remember going to the nurse's office and getting on the scale. And I was like, oh my God. And I ended up joining, they had an at work Weight Watchers program. And I ended up joining that program, and then I ended up, joining a gym, lost weight, you know my journey. Then I became a lifetime member. But it's true. Like I think that work aspect was the first time when I realized that at 20 something years old, like I never ran for the train because I'm figuring like another one's gonna come. Right. But the other reason was because at 20 something years old, right, and being that size and being unhealthy, because I will honestly say some people who are big are not unhealthy, right? So size doesn't mean you're unhealthy, but I could barely go up the train steps, right, without being out of breath. And for me, that was a sign, right? Like here you are, I'm in my 20s, right? And I can barely navigate going up the train steps. So I think that was a sign for me as well.
Regina?
For me, it really started when I was in high school. Well, I had home economics, which they probably don't have anymore. So my home economics teacher kind of gave us tips and bits. So I remember at the age of 16, 15, 16, I stopped eating salt and I started understanding and I ate this kind of healthy lifestyle, just listen to her. Then 4 or 5 years later, I moved to California. California at that time, where I lived, the area I lived in, was all about health and wellness and things like that. So I learned about the different types of foods. I tried to be a vegan. I tried to do those different things, eating on breads that weren't really breads and what's that stuff called? I used to love it, but I don't know, alfalfa sprouts and things like that, and avocado. So I kind of explored, and from there, I just listened to different people, and I think so. My environment had a lot to do with it, and who I hung out with had a lot to do with it. And I'm like Sheila. Of course, I did eat a lot of bad along with the good, but but I learned. And as I got older, my body told me you better do something because you get older and your body starts rejecting certain things. No longer. So you got to find. And then I must say, and I watched my mom. My mom was all of her sisters, her siblings, at least her sisters I knew. Her brothers, I'm not sure, but she had three sisters. They all were diabetic. My mom did not become diabetic until she was about 75, if that. And once she became a diabetic, she followed the doctor's instructions as far as eating right. And 2 years later, she lost weight and she was off her meds.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. You keep throwing these solutions out here, Regina.
And that was like, ooh, and and my mom, I was just like her. I still am. I don't like to take a lot of pills. So I kind of fight the doctors when they tell me about a pill. I'm like, okay, well, now what is that for? And what I'm so that was one of the things. So those are the things that helped me on my journey. And then of course I met Nana.
But Marcy said something that's really key too, right? It's balance, right? It's so important.
Yes.
Because I also found that I could be an extremist, right? And so get to the point where, because sometimes I would realize I'm cutting something out that my body probably really needs, right?
Yeah.
And so just being mindful of that as well.
For sure. So for me, looking back on how I grew up, it makes sense that I'm in the space that I'm in. I grew up in the South on a farm My grandfather planted the food that we ate. And my father, from the time I can remember, think of this, Black man in the South
Mm,
who was very focused on his health.
mm,
To this day, he may eat meat once or twice in a whole week.
wow.
Very, very active, very mindful. I remember sitting in restaurants with him. If he were to order something that did have grease in it, oil-based foods, there would be a stack of paper towels on the side of his plate where he squeezed and he's getting it all out that he can get out. And his statement would always be, "That's on the paper towel. But if I hadn't done that, it would be in me."
Wow.
Mm,
Very, very mindful of what he put in his body. And so I like to say, of course, growing up, I'm used to the natural side of things.
mhm.
I'm grateful for that upbringing. And I didn't know that it was going to spark this thing in me that I have now, this huge passion to help us find natural solutions as best we can. We're not saying there's no place for our medical community. As I said at the top of the conversation, I have 32 years in that space. But there are so many natural, when I say natural, I'm not talking about the label that's being used natural. I'm talking about stuff from the dirt,
Mm.
real, not just the label that says it's natural, which that's a whole nother conversation.
Mhm.
But being mindful, like I share, what you put in you, what you put on you, and what is around you. Because we are aware what we put in us, we can see the impact of that, right? You can get
Mhm.
lab tests to see what's going on with that. But when you're talking about what you put on you, I'm talking about your lotions, your deodorants, your toothpaste, your body washes, your laundry detergents. If it's made up of chemicals, your skin is your largest organ, guess where it's going? In you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's so crazy? And for all of you who are joining us now, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. Coming to our living room, right? We're talking about mind, body, and soul. But you know what's crazy is, so when I started using the natural deodorant, right, the first time I stopped because my underarms, right, just being fully transparent, were
Sure.
getting really dark. I was like, okay, now what's going on? And then I think I was talking to you, and you were like, that's because it's now starting to bring out all of these toxins and stuff in your body, right? And so then I went back to using it, right? And I had to, and I will say this, right? For me, you guys know I'm big on mindset, right? And so that's where my mindset really had to take over, right? Because I had to get out of this whole mindset of, oh, if I use this natural deodorant, I work out so much, I'm going to be smelling, right? Like all this stuff, right? But the reality is, those are just things. It's like your mind will trick you into not doing what's best for you, right?
Absolutely. And let's go down that road for a second. That's
Right?
one of my questions. You just led right on in. Mindset
Mhm.
is huge in any process we undertake, right?
Mhm.
You have the option to talk yourself out of anything,
Mhm.
but you also have the equal opportunity to talk yourself into
Mhm.
things. And so when we're talking natural options, you want to be mindful of this. We're living. How much of the things we're putting on us, in us, and around us are living? You can't give living things dead food.
Mm.
If it was processed in a plant, never ever ran past a plant, an actual plant. Is something created in a lab that's packaged. It was never living.
So say that again. You can't put.
You can't put dead food in your living cells and expect the benefits that you need to nourish yourself with.
Mm.
Mm. Wow.
Mm.
Just
Okay.
something to consider, right? Why? What do you know that can remain living without being supported by something living?
Mm.
That is true.
Wow.
Wow.
So we want to think about what the choices that we're making throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to mindset, because y'all know I hear it all.
Yeah.
Every excuse that could be, I've heard.
I mean, and I was gonna say, I hear it as well, right? You know, being a coach, right? The reasons why people can't do coaching, and even myself, before I became a coach, like it took me so long to even get a coach myself because of I told myself I can't afford it, I can't do this, right? And then I was like, you know what? All this money you spending on this little Dunkin' Donut app, right? When you add that up,
Mm-hmm.
that's the money for your coaching session, right?
You can make coffee at home that's cheaper. I mean,
Right?
we make decisions, we make choices, we make sacrifices based upon what we want to do.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
that girlfriend's trip
Mhm.
is coming up next year, you're gonna find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now your little sales can be broke down, busted, and disgusted, but you're gonna take them on the trip. Let's talk about being well so you can enjoy
Joy. Yeah.
while you're there. Now, here we go. The money thing.
Mhm.
You're going to pay one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to pay to be healthy. You're going to pay to be sick. One way or the other. I'm choosing healthy. You know, you get to choose. Everybody gets to choose. But why not think about, let's just say, what you're bathing in.
Mhm.
You're spending money on that, right?
Yeah. But you
Why
know
not
what's so
spend that same money?
Mm-hmm.
but you know what's so
That's not
crazy?
gonna take you out.
But you know what's so crazy and why I know it's like mindset, right? Is really because I will actually tell you, I will say sign up for a free discovery session, right?
Mhm.
Crickets. I literally have a program right now where it's like pay what you want, right? And there's options. You could choose $25, $45, like whatever you are able to, right? Because I am so passionate about helping women, right? That I want to give you all these options. Like I'm trying to eliminate the excuses, right?
Yes.
But the problem is that I think somewhere along the line, it's so ingrained in people's heads that they've been telling themselves for so long why they can't do something that even when you make it possible for them to do it, right? They're still telling themselves
Yes.
why they can't,
Yes.
right? And so how do you help someone move out of that space?
That's a difficult one. They have to be open to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a choice they get to make. And I say that because, perfect example, I was contacted by someone who was in a severe medical situation. And that had happened because they chose not to take care of themselves until it was like in your face, you're really not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the call, and it's, it's the red rocket. It's like right now. We got to do this now. Okay. So we do it now for 4 hours, conversation wise, addressing every area that we could address. I provide the suggestions. 2 weeks go by, I hear nothing. I'm getting concerned, right? Oh my goodness. Let me see if they're okay. Once they took 2 more days to respond back to me, it was, I decided to take a different route.
Mm-hmm.
But if you knew that route and you knew the outcome of that route, why did you call me? And guess what, y'all? Things are still they're not well.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to arrive at the place of people get to choose. And so
that's what it, yeah.
back to your comment though, Theo, and your statement, what can you think of, all of us together, what can we think of that would cause the mindset to be so closed to the extent of suffering due to that thought process?
Hmm.
What do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's one, like you said, it's a choice. Like I literally have a program, right, that is centered around mindset, right, where it talks about. So I've studied it, right, and it just talks about the difference between having a growth mindset and a
Mm-hmm.
fixed mindset, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that fixed mindset tells you that this is what it is, this is how it's always going to be, and I can't change it, right? And that growth mindset says, yeah, this might be how it is, but I can do this, this, and that, right? And so your growth mindset really actually believes that if you put in the work and you make some changes and you do some stuff, right, you can actually change, right, your situation or whatever. So I think part of it also comes with that. I think it comes with something you said earlier, the environment you grow up in, right? What you see, what you experience, right? You know, is cultural. I think there's so many dynamics to it, but I think the main thing is, you know, and I'll let somebody else talk, but I think the main thing is what you already said. It actually is a choice, but there's sometimes a barriers to even getting to the point where you can make that choice. Like for me, I needed therapy, right, to make some changes in some areas, right, in my mind, right, and so I think there's so many components, but I would love to hear what like Sheila or Regina have to say.
I agree with all of those elements, Theo, and especially the mental health part, because for so long, right, we've been taught that only the crazy people need help,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's it. You don't go see a psychiatrist because you're not crazy. You don't go see a psychotherapist because you have no business telling anybody our business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was no one advocating for the mental health system to say that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
People have walked around in denial and still do. Many of us grew up in dysfunctional households,
Mm-hmm.
right? You just didn't know it because you kind of thought it was in your household and it was the norm. You may have seen another family or two that didn't operate the same way, and there was a part of you that wanted to be in that kind of environment, but at the same time you didn't know what was going on behind closed doors there.
Mm-hmm.
So the mental piece was always something that was kind of stripped away from it, right? You're walking, you're breathing, you're fine. So unless you were actually diagnosed as having some kind of mental disorder, which you really couldn't because you weren't allowed to get, again, you don't go see a mental health professional for it because technically you're all right.
Yeah.
Everyone had to, on their own diagnose what somebody who they thought was crazy would have been. And it's now that we're starting to realize that those traumas have such an impact and influence on who you are today, right?
Mm.
There are things that you can't let go of. One of them is, well, everybody in my family is big boned. So that's my mindset. Hey.
Girl, all the bones is ready to
So because it is hereditary, I'll never be able to lose weight.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to because that's how my family is.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of mindset that we've been in that has mentally brought us down. So that's when we think about how important that it is to advocate for one's mental health, it's like if you can start recognizing those triggers and those signals, then that's something that can kind of lead you to looking at overall health and wellness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But I agree with everything that everyone says, but it goes back to people do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like the girls' trip.
Mm-hmm.
They'll pay for that girls' trip, but they won't pay for their health.
Right.
So
Whew.
the big boned thing. So what if you big boned? Are you healthy big? Because there's healthy big boned and there's
Mhm.
unhealthy big boned. So you know, I mean, if you
Just
want to
say,
say that,
Wait. Nana got something to say.
say this. I've seen a lot of skeletons. Ain't none of them been big bone.
well, no, I'm saying if they want to say that, like,
I know what you're saying, but I'm like, how do we say
But that has always been the thing. People have always been.
I am big boned.
I'm big boned.
And
Yeah.
you
No.
believed it. Think about how long you went
Mhm.
around believing that there was a difference between my skeletal system and yours.
Exactly.
Right?
You have taller people,
Mhm.
you know, and you have some that have stronger bone structure.
Mhm.
You know, you have that.
Mhm.
But in the whole scheme of things, ain't nobody got no extra 30 pounds of bones.
Mhm.
But how many of us grew up hearing that,
Yeah.
right?
I did.
Like,
All this did, for sure.
Mhm.
but it is so true. I think it's also that shift in your mindset. It is
Right.
really,
It
but it's
is.
also making that choice, right? Like it's deliberate. Like I remember being in my again, like I think I was 20s, whatever, and and I was like, I had just got like this first job as a leader, right, a manager, and things were well, and I would be sitting in my office crying. I didn't know why. And that was my first time when I was like, you know what, I'm calling this little, I'm gonna find me a little therapist.
Yeah.
And I went to therapy, right? And so that was my first experience, right? And then, you know, again, later in life when I went through some stuff again, but I will say now, I have a therapist, right? And that is for preventative. Like people are like, what's wrong? I have a therapist as preventative care. So just like I go to a GYN every year and you know, primary doctor every year for a physical and a dentist, once a month, I'm checking in on my mental by talking to an unbiased individual who is not a family member, who's not going to tell me what I want to hear, right? Who I could just really talk to about whatever is going on, whether it's good or bad, right? So to the point that Sheila made, you know, a lot of us stayed away because we're like, oh, we don't go to therapy. But after the first time I went, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is kind of good, right? You know, I mean, when I went back into my 20s, like the therapist probably was like, I'm gonna need some more tissues for this girl, right? but the reality is like now I appreciate just being able to get on a call with someone and just really talk about my mental state, whether I'm in a good space, a not so good space, you know, whatever, right? But it's so good just to have that outlet.
Mhm.
Yes, for sure. Um, Along the lines of, you know, us talking about family experiences, family history. So I've had individuals say to me, based upon chronic conditions,
Mm-hmm.
medical conditions, we're not calling any names or anything like that. So grandma had it,
Mm-hmm.
my mama got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of time for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't accept that.
Me either.
If grandma ate a certain way, now mama's repeating the eating habits that grandma had, and you're continuing those same eating habits, whether they're poor or they're good, there are things that can happen in response to those choices,
Right.
right? So I have a family history of certain things, but I don't have them, glory to God, because I'm aware of things that can lead to those outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this conversation that we're having is super important for awareness sake,
Mm-hmm.
so that now each of us is charged with changing our family forward.
Mm-hmm.
The legacy we can leave. Most people think of legacy in financial perspective, but what about your health bank?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If your grandchildren, your children, your nieces, your nephews enjoy this new dish that you're making, and it tastes good and is
Mm-hmm.
good for them, that could be oh, you know what? Can I get that recipe?
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. Just
Mm-hmm.
like we have other recipes we pass along, why not start weaving in some healthier options so that we're changing little by little
Mm-hmm.
what our family tree will look like? And it starts with us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree. Like I have a friend who came and she stayed with me last year, like around Christmas time, right, for a few weeks. And I was like, man, I wish she could be here all the time. Cause she's a health and wellness coach, right? But just some of the meals she made, I was like, wait a minute, we don't even have no meat,
Yes.
right?
That's
It was
mindset, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was like, but also it was flavorful, right? It was, and so when she did, leave to go back home, I continue, like, making the salad like that, the way she made it, like, having just on some dates, like just rice and beans and salad or whatever. Like, I mean, I was like, okay. And so I say that to say, and also because I did go through a journey of losing weight and was a Weight Watchers leader and all of that, right? I also learned from that one is moderation.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to deprive yourself,
Nope.
right?
No.
But you do like Sheila said, like Marcy said, right? Balance is key,
Mhm.
right? And so, some people I think go to the extreme to where they deprive themselves of stuff and that kind of throws them off track, right? Because then they think, I can't do this because I can't have XYZ. But when you really put into perspective that moderation is key, right? And you tweak things in your diet, right? You find out that you can go to a lifestyle where I eat, I would say, probably 90 to 95% clean.
Good.
That's important. And we'll talk about what clean eating is. Some people may not know what that is.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about balance, it's important to have an accountability tracker for your balance until you know what that looks like for you.
Mhm.
Because I've helped individuals who declare up and down they have done it all, and it just is not working for me. Okay, so let's do some tracking. Let's look at some things. Oh, I didn't know that was bad. When has a bag of chips been a healthy option? Well, it says veggie chips. Come on, y'all. Don't fall.
But let's talk about the labels.
Oh, that's
yeah.
For me, it got to the point where, and this is from working with a nutritionist, right? Where she was like, if you can't read half of the stuff on the label,
Right.
Leave it alone.
You can't pronounce it.
You
can't
probably
pronounce
shouldn't
it.
eat that.
Right.
Leave it alone. How about this? Eat foods that don't require labels.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and that's what they talk about, right? Like, and we probably are going to go into a whole nother realm. So we probably going to have another conversation, right, on health and wellness. Because like you said, this is a huge topic. But that's why they say you start when you go to the supermarket around the perimeter, right?
Right.
Where you get the fresh fruits and veggies and lean protein, right? And all of that. Because when you start going down those aisles where you have all the cans and the bags and whatever, right? That's where you get into the processed foods and the monogluten, whatever that you can't pronounce.
Exactly. And so I want to encourage us that being well doesn't start at the finish line.
Yeah.
You start with something small and
Mhm.
keep the end in mind, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to do it all at one time.
Yeah.
So my question to each of you is, what small change can you make today to enhance your overall well-being? One small thing.
Well, I know for me, it is this: drinking more water
Wow.
Yes.
consistently. You know,
Yes.
months ago, I'd gone to a pop-up shop, and there was someone who was, who made her own lip gloss, and as I was purchasing it from her, one of the things that she said to me is, you have to be hydrated. She said, because if you're not hydrated, then the lip color, that's what it was, lip color, is going to crack on your lips. That's how you know that your lips are dry and how your body is dehydrated. And I said to myself, I never thought about that.
Mhm.
And now that's one of the things that I'm so very cognizant of. Um, I'm obsessed with lip gloss, and I carry about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in my handbag, just because that's one of those things, right? That could be a vice of mine, and because I just love lip gloss, and it never even dawned on me. To me, I equated the quality of that lip gloss to how my lips felt like they were drying out, not realizing that it's because I am drying my body out. So that's the one thing that I have to continue to work on, is making sure that I'm staying hydrated. Now, I don't drink sodas. I mean, I might indulge every now and then, but because I know that I need to stay hydrated, I do make sure that the only liquid that I intake, except for wine, because I gotta have wine. I only will intake, and I do have my coffee in the morning, right? But I won't drink any waters. I don't drink juice. I mean, I don't drink soda or juices. I stick with water, especially whether it's, throughout the day or even with meals. For me, it's just give me some water.
I love that. And I'm going to make a note right here because there's something I need to say about dehydration.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to hear from Theo and Regina, your one small thing.
So first I'm going to say thank you, Sheila, because you just made me feel better about the 10 lip glosses I have in my bag. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you. But I will say for me, I'm very active, right? And I only drink water majority, right? So I would say the one thing that I've been working on for a really long time and continue to work on is getting the appropriate amount of sleep.
That is huge.
So the thing that I'm working on now and have been working on is really having a schedule where I'm up to trying to get, and people are going to say this is crazy, right? Because I'm up to trying to get 6 hours, right? Because I literally sometimes would only be getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep, right? So I am now focused on getting 6 hours and gradually get to 7, because I think that is the ideal number, they say. But for me, the one thing the change that I've made is, and will continue to make, is making sure I am preparing for bed and getting into bed at a decent time every night, same time, so I could get that 6 hours of sleep.
Nighttime sleep routine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I need to continue my water, because I drink water, but I still don't drink enough. I can't get it up to where I need to be. And sometimes I don't even think about it. I don't drink anything. I just go all day and I'm like, oh, I haven't had anything.
Ooh, your poor little kidneys. Like,
I know. I just don't drink. Yeah. But that's not something that I'm going to add to, because that's something I keep trying to every day improve. What I'm going to add to is to turn the TV off in my bedroom.
Oh, that's a big one.
Because I'll go to sleep and have it on, or I'll wake up and I turn it on. And I'm like, no, that's not good. And I do notice when it's all the way up, I get better sleep.
quality sleep. Yes.
Yeah. I literally have a friend who was like, she doesn't even have a TV in her bedroom.
Yeah, that's the way to go. But
I tried it. It didn't last long, but it's true. When you don't have that TV on, you do get a better quality of sleep.
And that's the key. Not just hours, but quality sleep. So we can talk about tactics.
Neto, what's your one thing?
My one thing is to stop working by 10 o'clock at night.
All right. Okay. So how are we all going to hold each other accountable?
Just send a message.
Okay, because Netta, we got the same one, like to stop working at a certain amount of time. So I think, so we got to send a message, whether it's in our group or in,
Let's do it as a group.
Yep. So we probably in a group, we need to,
Yeah, and that's another strategy for those that are watching or will watch this. Do it with someone.
Mm-hmm.
There's always somebody who wants to do better in a certain area. It may not be the same as you, but doing it with someone helps you to hold yourself accountable, because y'all know we'll talk ourselves out of some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight I'm not going to worry about it. You know, I did it last night. So, you know, we can't do that. We have to be consistent in what we are saying we want to do, because ultimately we lose if we don't.
Yeah. So, ladies, we are nearing our 4-minute mark.
Wow. Can I just jump in and do my dehydration piece?
Yep. Yeah, I'm just letting you guys know, because we're gonna go over a little, which is
so statistically 75% of Americans are dehydrated, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you brought up the fact that there was an external manifestation of dehydration for you. It usually is for many, but we don't always know what that looks like for each of us. So the recommendation is half of our body weight in ounces of water daily. That does not include coffee. That does not include juices. It doesn't include water, WATER. Half your body weight in ounces. And just like everything else, break it into small segments. It's not like you got to stand at the sink at 9 o'clock at night and try to finish it. You know what's going to happen. We have to do it throughout the day. Your cells need the opportunity to just absorb that throughout the day. And I also wanted to point out gut health impacts so many things. Mm-hmm. We don't always attribute what we're feeling to poor gut health, but it is huge. Your gut microbiome impacts your pretty much every cell. So you want to have a healthy gut microbiome. So we can talk about that at another time, but I wanted to point that out. Your immune system, you know, the rest that you get, all of those things come together to make us a whole healthy body. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't talked about the plugins, the sanitizers, the sprays. We haven't touched none of that. But again, what goes on you goes in you. And if it's chemically based, you're toxic. You want to consider those things as well. Thank you, Theo, for the last few minutes of time to help us recap and get our minds set on some of the ways that we can improve starting today. We don't talk about. We'll start at the beginning of the month. No, today. The beginning of the month is not promised. Let's start today.
Right.
And I think that's important, right? And so, you know, for those of you who are joining, this is the Woman to Woman show. We're about to wrap up, But I think the important thing is for those of you who are listening now and are joining us now, and for those of you who will catch the replay, is to think about that one thing that you can start now, right? Because it is important, and it could be the smallest of thing, right? So I will tell you one thing that I do to manage time is on my phone. So for those of you who have a smartphone, there's a little do not disturb function on your phone. And so from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., I'm on do not disturb. So my phone is not ringing beyond that, other than, some emergency people that can get in. So that allows me to start taking it down, right? And like Netta said, really being focused on stopping work at 10 and moving, into a space of getting ready for, bed, right? And so just think of the thing that you can do, that one thing, right? Like I took my little Terrazon
Yes.
for my digestive system after I ate, right? And so just the tiny little things that you can do, they add up.
Yes. Yes. Don't minimize the small things.
Right.
And don't talk yourself out of it.
You
And,
like it.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the other thing I will say is, right, if I'm sure everybody has one person that they can say is an accountability partner, but if you don't have an accountability partner, you have the four of us, right? You could DM us, send us a direct message, right? We'll be happy to be your accountability partner. And for those of us who are coaches, we're not trying to get you to buy nothing. We'll just be your accountability partner, right? That's it, right? But if you want to, partake of the services, we're happy to do that too. But the reality is right. That's why we're here. That's why we have this show, is because we want to help other women, especially Gen X, right? At this age, we want to help you shift, because we tend to get stuck in that mindset, right? Of doing things the way we've always done things. We want you to know that we all manage to shift our mindsets and move in a different direction, so that as we age, we're aging well, right? And we want everybody to age well.
Absolutely. And I just encourage each of us, me included, to be the influence for change in your family and thereby impact your community by making just small changes every day that other people can then see you as an example.
Right.
And Sheila, your final words? She gonna drop, the professor about to drop.
Well, no, and it's just, I think going back to it, just make the small changes. Start somewhere, but start and focus in on that until you've got a consistent flow going, and then start introducing something new. Because ultimately, all it takes is just that one thing that allows you to start feeling better, not only feeling better, but feeling better about yourself.
Yes.
Yes. And Regina, your final remarks?
Well, it's what Sheila said. Just take that small step, but maybe the small step, incorporating, introducing yourself to a new idea, new mindset. But those go hand in hand.
And so I want to close out with, before we close out the way we normally do, each of us just saying how someone could follow us, right? In case someone does need an accountability partner. And so I am Theodora Carter 428 on Instagram and on Facebook. And Sheila?
On Facebook, I am Sheila Isom. I am also SDI. That's for Sheila Denise Isom, SDI Nail Society. And I'm also SDI Nail Society in Instagram.
Netta?
I am Holistically Motivated LLC on Instagram and Holistically Motivated on Facebook.
And Regina.
I am Seasoned and Fabulous on Facebook and Instagram.
Nice. All right. So we thank you for joining us tonight. This has been the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. This topic is huge, so I feel like we're going to need to have another segment of this topic. It might need to become reoccurring.
Yeah.
Because I think we're going to need to have, because this is a huge topic. So we
Yes.
definitely are going to talk about this again. And so we are delighted that you joined us tonight. For those of you who are watching a replay, we hope you get something we said will help you in your journey to being healthier. And we will see you again in 2 weeks, Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to close out as we normally do, which is to say,
Ruth
Truth,
plus
the transparency,
equals healing.
healing.
Good night.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Everyone, thank you for joining us.